Good morning, everyone. It's Christine right here. Welcome to Coffee with Christine. Here's my coffee. I kind of made it wrong this morning. Anyway, so yesterday we were talking about the homeless situation and like the issues, and hopefully we get to the part where what can we do to solve it. So just a quick recap. So yesterday we discussed the data on how a lot of people, but you don't see it in the news, but a lot of people that looks at this data closely questions it because the way that it's being done and the way that it's being presented, it seems there's some high possibility of inaccuracy. So it's kind of hard to, especially if we're measuring goals, depending on how much that volume is, then it's a pretty important one image data that we use for a lot of these things. So hopefully we can get better data or better way of doing this count soon. We also discuss how the state gets federal money for the count, depending on how many people are identified as homeless, and so there's that. And then we also discuss drug use, like drug use being a major problem when it comes to people that are suffering from homelessness. And I made some statements that I don't I don't really agree with like our process when it comes to drug use. I remember the term. I promise I remember the term before I jumped in, and then I forgot again. Let me see. Give me a moment. Um, it's called, dude. I forgot. I forgot again. But anyways, it's hard to do this thinking and then also talking at the same time. But we'll. Oh, yeah, I got it. Harm reduction. So I don't necessarily, unfortunately, agree with harm reduction. I think the concept is very, I mean, superficially, the concept is very kind, but I think it's one of those that it's very surface level, and that if we actually want change, you want to go a little bit deeper and you want to be able to help them in a more to be able to come back to the community in a productive sense, to give them that pride back. Speaking of harm reduction, yay, I remember. Speaking of harm reduction, I remember because I work for the government, like a branch of the government. I remember the first time I saw this, I was mind blown. I was with this group of people and we're doing outreach, and across from us, a few of our staff from a different departments are giving those the fentanyl strips. And then so I'm always up for learning. So I was like, oh, okay, what's this? Because this is not really my forte. Like I'm not very familiar with a lot of different drugs that are currently being used. So I wanted to learn how we're doing outreach for this purpose, and also just overall. And then it's just pretty interesting because the idea is good. And I guess that's my, if I have concern about the government, that really is it. Like usually the idea is coming from a good place, in my understanding, from my perspective. And everyone who is supporting that said idea, I really think that they mean well. They have good intentions because I know these people. I met these people that works for harm reduction, very wonderful people that's really trying to make change. But with that being said, it just doesn't go deep enough to actually change things, I guess is what I wanted to say. But going back to the fentanyl, I didn't even know about the fentanyl. I guess the first interaction I've had with it was when they sent me like a little flyer from school, warning parents that fentanyl is on the rise in terms of kids unfortunately using it. So let's go back to fentanyl, and I pulled some data for us here. I didn't know how bad it is. And so we give the response that they have decided is to give a fentanyl strips test. So the idea is that, and the instruction is funny. You guys should read it. The idea is that I guess it's almost like you crushed your. Good morning, my babies. So the idea is that you crush the drug and then you put it in the strip to test. I mean, some other drug, like some other street drugs, you've put it in the strip to test if there's fentanyl. Because the premise is that a lot of people don't know that there's fentanyl in their medication or their street drugs, and it causes overdose because fentanyl is very very potent. So in a very small amount, it unfortunately can cause real harm, right? Especially if the person that's consuming it is not aware that there's fentanyl in there. So that's kind of that's kind of the idea of it. But the interesting part about the instruction is that it would say, "Oh, afterwards you can just take it, like snort it or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, that's like such a wild concept for a government, for government to be able to give like materials like this, like almost almost like I guess encouraging." But again, as I mentioned in my previews, this might not be necessarily a popular thought. So this is just my personal thought as a mother and as a nurse, and I guess as a person, right? Um, so that was the concept in fentanyl. Uh, like here's a little bit of data for us. So 5 years ago, um, 2019. I mean, data wise, 2019. Um, we had unfortunately 2,579 deaths related to opioid, including fentanyl. And then 2023, fentanyl death is 7,203, unfortunately. So they've been giving, they've been giving a lot of these strips, and we give it like pancakes. Is that the term? We give it out like pancakes. And I was like, dude, it's so sad. It's so sad that people are, trying to trying to mind their own business, use their drugs, and then they're not knowing that it's being laced by fentanyl. Because again, I guess it's some type of drug. It looks, I sound so dumb. I'm sorry, but I really don't know. But some type of drugs, they look the same as fentanyl. So you don't know that you're using fentanyl instead of the drug that you actually bought, causing you to, unfortunately, be in harm's way because of fentanyl. So the idea is we want them to check their drugs before they take it to make sure there's no fentanyl in it. So that's the premise. And then so now afterwards, I was doing research just for fun because I do that. And I realized, they were doing interviews, and I realized that they're taking fentanyl on its own. And I was looking at, I've had patients, and whenever I have to review their charts, it's the same. They take fentanyl on its own, or that's their drug of choice. And I spoke to people that I know that works in the jail, or sorry, not jail, the prison. And I ask, like, hey, do people know that they're taking fentanyl? And again, the answer is yes. So people actually like fentanyl. And I was like, but why are we giving them, and why are we giving them the kit? And I don't know how much we should check. Let's see how much California spent on fentanyl strips. But I was thinking, why would they test the drug for fentanyl if they already know that there's fentanyl in it? Um, 4 million. 4 million. It seems low. From 4 to 6 million currently is the amount that it's saying. From how I saw that fentanyl strips pour, it seems low to me. But anyways, so that's currently the data. But going back to that, I was surprised because I was like, hey, if that's the case, if people purposely, knowingly, preferably consume fentanyl, then why are we giving the strips when they already know? Granted, there's still some use, especially for people that are trying it, I guess, trying other drugs for the first time. They need to know that there's fentanyl there, and so they can have an informed decision, I guess. But yeah, so I was very confused, and I actually talked to multiple people about it. And the funny thing is that a lot of people don't know. So a lot of people, like myself, who is not really very versed in this type of lifestyle, when I told them this data, they were surprised. They didn't know that it was consumed in a way that is, it is within their choice. It's like consuming sugar, with the idea that, hey, they didn't tell you that there's sugar in your food, but no, they know that they have sugar and they want that sugar. So I was a little bit concerned in terms of the money that we're using. I just felt like we're hitting a target completely, but we're shooting it completely so far from the target, and I didn't understand. I do want to add, and so we'll add this in the topic because I was trying to review what I said yesterday. There is a fourth category for our homeless population, which people don't want to talk about. Very heated subject. Everything is unfortunately a heated subject. So it's like everyone who has any type of information is like trying to be careful. I guess careful is a good word, which is understandable. Dude, even I am getting like comments of like, we'll report you to the board. I'm like, okay, sure. If you feel that I said anything inappropriate. But there's just a lot of this fear going around. But anyways, there's a fourth category for our homeless population that we need to assess. And these are the people that are not what do you say? They're the illegal immigrants. The illegal immigrants, unfortunately, are like landing in the streets, and that's not that's not cool. Like they did this interview. I'm sure they pulled it off the air by now, and that's really not cool. Also, whenever they pull this data from the air because it doesn't fit the narrative. So bad. But anyways, that's another thing is that the people that have crossed the border, they have nowhere to go, or some of them have nowhere to go. So this is what happened. I want to tell a story of something that I experienced. I think I mentioned this a little bit ago in one of the early live feeds, but I wanted to share it now as well because it paints a picture with some of the concerns that we have. So I was working at one of the low income neighborhood parks, right? It was a Saturday or Sunday. It's a weekend, so that's an important data because it's out of defense for the people that I guess are not something that I'm not gonna say kind words about them, I guess. But anyways, it was during the time where I'm sure I'll find that date. If you guys really want it, I'll find that date because that's not so long ago. But it was the time where there was a lot of rain and a lot of rain and a lot of wind. So it was not people are not, I guess, out and about. And this is at a park. So my team, it's a small team, but my team found this family in the awning, just standing in the awning of the restroom of the park. It's like a dad. I'm assuming it's a dad and a mom and three small kids. The kids are like maybe 5, 7, and 10, something along those lines, but definitely less than 10 years old. This three kids with the parents, and these people were just sitting there, and they were like pulling a bunch of stuff. It's like in what do you call this? Laundry bag. It's like a few laundry bags that they're just kind of like uh, pulling around. And then we did ask them. They don't speak English. We asked them where they came from. We asked them, where they're going, and they can't really tell us where they came from. Or I guess I should say they didn't want to tell us. But what we know is they had nowhere to go. They had nowhere to go. So we let them stay inside our place, and we called everyone. Like we called everyone. I even texted everyone that I know personally to see if they know resources. So they send us, so upsetting. So they send us all of this, like whenever you ask for resources for our homeless population, they give you this big pamphlet or big files of people that could help during this situation. And we called everyone in that list. It's like multiple pages, and these are resources. We we looked online, we looked everywhere, and we called 411. We called everyone, and no one was willing to help. No one was had the resources to help this family. Most of them, 90% of them, were closed. And that's why I wanted to say it's a weekend, right? And I know no one wants to work weekend, but I'm just saying there's some parts, especially of the government, there's some parts that has to work weekends. That's kind of the point. No one wants to do it, but it's necessary for the job. I guess that's what I'm saying. But anyway, so I was just very concerned. I was very upset. I was very upset at that time, and so are my team, because we're like, dude, we spent so much. This was before that data of like billions of dollars that we've spent on our homeless population, but we spent so much money, and there's no resource whatsoever for this family. And I said, I asked for one, and I said, hey, so is there emergency placement for these people so they're not like in the rain? Is there like a hotel voucher? And they said that it's very hard to get that, and usually there's a waiting list. But I'm like, dude, so how do we do this? Like, where do we go? Like, where do we go from here? The good thing is it worked out. I guess that's a blessing, is that during the same day there was a family at the park that they scheduled a not a baby, they scheduled a party, like a birthday party at the park. So they had like space in their home, so they took this family in, which is very, very nice of them. So they tried. I love I love this type of people. So they tried to still celebrate, and they celebrated by the little hall, not hall, the like nice rental halls, but like a hallway. It's like a hallway of the park, just so it's dry and it's not raining. So they still continued their celebration and did their best, in spite of the weather. And they were the ones who took this family in. I think the team and I were considering just paying ourselves for a hotel a few days for this family until they're able to get assistance from someone, from the city, from the county, from the state, anyone. And then also, I wanted to add these two thoughts from two different people. So one person that I was talking to about it, as it's cool. It's cool to talk to people because they offer a different perspective outside of mine, or they test mine. I think that's why I always welcome conversations. But one of them was, that person was like, how do you know that this is actually their children? I was like, oh, that's a good point. And then like, hey, you don't know what's going on. So it's hard to know. This could be not their children. They could be just taking this children from somewhere. But I want to say that overall it was odd. It was odd, and this is why it's odd. As a parent, and I know this to be true for any parent. We can't go over today because I have to run to work. Any parent would tell you that if their kids are in trouble, they're gonna do everything in their power to make sure that kid is okay. They're gonna, especially there's two of them, they're gonna divide and conquer. I try to imagine myself, and I guess not just myself, because I know I'm a little bit over the top sometimes. But you will do anything to make sure that your kid is okay. So maybe someone watch the kids while you do, I don't know, clean cars or whatever the case may be. But this family was exceptionally interesting because the parents were just kind of placid. They won't even make the phone call. They have phones, but they won't even make a phone call. Maybe they don't know where to start. Maybe they're intimidated that they don't speak English. There's a lot of factors, and I give that credit. But what I'm trying to say is they were just sitting there. They were just sitting there, and they're just letting us do all the work. They're just like sitting. And I've just never seen a parent like that. Again, we care, especially not just because we're community members, but also because we're nurses. We care deeply about this family. But, while I'm getting upset and like doing all this efforts to reach and to find something, I thought it was pretty odd that the parents were not doing anything at all. They're not calling friends, they're not calling family, nothing. And they're just sitting there and just like not giving us much information, letting the kids run around. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're just done, wishing and hoping. And maybe they're, because there is that process. I encountered this first in terms of like the process after giving birth, where you just kind of surrender and let other people take care of you. But I'm just saying, I've never seen that. I've never seen parents not actively pursuing to make a bad situation for their children better. But I have not met every single person, so that's a possibility that there's a lot of things going on. I'm just sharing my observation at the time. And then second, and I think nurses would tell me this, would agree with this. This will be an interesting, I guess, a study. But a second thing to consider is that you can't leave kids in the streets. You cannot. Like, this is considered a harmful environment for them. So whenever you see a kid in Skid Row, and they're hiding them, right, most of the time. So whenever you see a kid that is homeless, that's not supposed to happen. We have a lot of different rules, and I actually research it to make sure that I have the most accurate information at the time. But you cannot leave the kid with the family if they're homeless. That's not safe for the kid. And so we are bound by our licenses to report these things. We have to report that kid needs to be removed, unfortunately, at least temporarily, from their family. And I'm not saying this lightly. I want to make sure that you guys know. I don't. I think removing a child from their home, from their parents, should be like absolutely last resort. But the question is this: when you are faced with that decision, will you report it? One of the staff that kind of works alongside us, really not part of my team, she actually went up to me and specifically asked me, Christine, can you please not call the children's services? Okay, there's my dog trying to get out. Just a second. Hey guys. Sorry, I should just leave the door open since they wake up around this time. But anyways, so she specifically asked me, she said, Christine, can you please not call child services? And that's an interesting ask, because I'm required to, again, make sure that these kids are protected and are removed from a harmful environment. Again, the good thing is that that family was able to stay together because of the kindness of some people that are, like this randomly celebrating birthday party at the park. But when they do interviews and you see it, like, those reporters, and again, they try not to show you. But when you see the kids in the street, that's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to be that those kids are taken until the family. And we have, again, as I was mentioning, we have a lot of resources for this. It's just the way that it's managed overall is not good. But the thought of that person, I'm trying to remember if she's a nurse. I'm trying to remember. I forgot. But the thought of that person asking me to not report is that, she feels bad for the family. And I guess that's my thought. That's why it's cute when people in the comments would say, "Oh, she's just a nice person." To me, I'm like, I'm nice. I'm a nice person, but I'm always working towards a goal. Like, it's not easy to, and I'm very thankful for this. It's not easy to distract me with emotions, regardless of what emotion it is. It could be fear, intimidation, sadness. All to clarify, I'm not a robot. I feel all these feelings, but for the most part, my thoughts are, of course, remaining to the goal. Like, what is the goal? What is the expectations? What is the law? I'm big on those things. But with that being said, that's the statement, and you see it. But how does this happen? How does this happen? And one of the reasons is that we're always just focusing on what is kind, at least in the current moment, or what's nice in the current moment. But these rules are there for a reason. Really, like, and I guess that's going to be the most unpopular take of this live feed. The rules are there for a reason, and not because you don't fully understand it means that you can just go against it. And unfortunately, that's kind of how it's been working in California. Like, seriously, in California, everywhere you look, it's like, do is this compliant? Is this within law? And it's always like, and it's like, that's not how it's supposed to be. And whenever we just stop following rules, this is what happens. And yeah, I hope that we're able to, to kind of go back and try to assess. And then another thing is that, and I say this to my management team, is that oftentimes we don't realize that there's already so many people doing the thing that we do. We think that we're always the exception, but a lot of people have already given resources. A lot of people already didn't report them and things like that. But it's just weird. We have to go deeper, I think. We have to definitely collaborate more. I don't know if I can finish this homeless talk in 2 sessions. There's really a lot to unpack. And for those of my friends that's supporting me, that's one of the things that I learned. If you ever want to do live feed and recording, there's some things I guess you can't rush because it just won't make sense. So yeah, we jump to, we kind of talk about harm reduction again, and my experience with fentanyl strips and my opinions about it and my realization. And then also the fourth issue when it comes to, or causes of homelessness, which no one wants to discuss, which is unfortunately the people that are crossing the border that has nowhere to go, hoping for the American dream, but not finding it in the current system, and not having that support that we make them believe almost that they will have. And they say that in the videos. They say it themselves. So it's not my words. I have to go to work. But it was nice talking to you guys. I'm imagining talking to you even though you're not here. But I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. And I promise I'll do a recap of everything because I get passionate sometimes and I just keep yapping, but it's not cool. But we'll do a recap, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Oh, one thing before I leave, and I'm about to leave. Um, I want to. I just wanted to. It's weird. But I heard that Betty he dropped off of the race, and I just want to say to Miss Betty, um, yeah, I'm thinking of you. I hope that you're okay. I'm sure that it's a hard decision to make. This is not an easy. It's not an easy adventure, I guess. It's a lot of emotions, a lot of work. I actually like her. I actually like her. So I got sad when she dropped out of the race. And for the people that would ask, because some people have asked me, they will still be in the ballot because the Secretary of State cannot logically keep removing and putting these people back on because they've already sent the official list. So no one is trying to be shady. It's just logistics. Like they just have to put it. But Miss Betty, I hope that you're okay. You don't know me, and I don't know you personally, but seems like a tough move. So hope you're good, and I'm thinking of you. And good luck with your future endeavors. But anywho, thanks everyone. Work time. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow for more coffee with Christine. Bye.